Death was never far away in the Middle Ages. It was not hidden behind walls. It was not softened or delayed. It existed openly, alongside daily life. People did not fear death because it was unknown. They feared it because they knew it too well. From early childhood, medieval people learned what death looked like. They saw it in their homes. They saw it in the streets. They saw it in churches, hospitals, and graveyards. Many children witnessed death long before they fully understood life itself. Death often came suddenly, a fever that worsened overnight, an infection that spread silently, an accident during work or travel. There was rarely warning and rarely time to prepare emotionally. Most people did not die in hospitals. Hospitals as we know them barely existed. People died at home, on straw beds, surrounded by family, neighbors, or sometimes no one at all. When someone became seriously ill, everyone understood what it usually meant. Hope was limited. Expectations were realistic. There were no machines to delay death, no medicine to reverse its course. The body weakened slowly or collapsed suddenly. Breathing became shallow. Pain increased. Death was physical, visible, unavoidable. Family members stayed close. Prayers were whispered. Hands were held. Preparing for death was part of life. People were taught how to die properly. A good death mattered deeply. It meant accepting death calmly, confessing sins, making peace with God and others. A sudden death was feared. It offered no time for repentance, no chance for spiritual preparation. Once death arrived, the body changed quickly. Without preservation, decomposition began within hours. This shaped how medieval people treated the dead. Burial happened fast. The body was washed, the eyes were closed, the limbs were straightened. The dead were wrapped in cloth or placed in a simple wooden coffin if the family could afford one. Most graves were shallow. Graveyards were crowded. Churchyards filled quickly. Older graves were disturbed to make room for new ones. Bones were stacked or moved to charnel houses. Death was not private, it was communal. Neighbors helped prepare the body. Children watched. No one was shielded from the reality of death. Funerals were simple for most people. The poor received minimal rites. The wealthy received longer ceremonies, prayers, and monuments. But even the rich could not escape decay. Grave markers were rare. Most graves were never marked with names. Over time, individual identities disappeared. Only bones remained. During times of plague and famine, burial practices collapsed entirely. Bodies accumulated faster than they could be buried. Mass graves became common. Priests could not keep up with last rites. Families buried their own dead. Sometimes bodies were thrown into pits without ceremony. Speed mattered more than dignity. Fear overrode tradition. Death lost its ritual order. The living feared the dead, not spiritually, but physically. Bodies were believed to spread disease. Entire houses were sealed shut. The dead were left inside. Grief had no time to breathe. Religion shaped how people understood death. Life on earth was temporary. Death was not the end, but a passage. Heaven, hell, and purgatory shaped behavior. Death was judgment. Every action mattered. Churches were filled with images of death, skeletons, rotting bodies, the dance of death. Art reminded people that death came for everyone: kings, peasants, children. Equality existed only in death. People prepared for burial throughout their lives. Wills were written early. Money was saved for funerals. Being buried in consecrated ground mattered deeply. Those denied burial in sacred land were feared and pitied. Suicides, criminals, and outsiders were buried beyond city walls. Graveyards were not silent places. Markets operated nearby. Children played among graves. Death was woven into daily routine. Repeated loss hardened people emotionally. Parents buried children, spouses buried each other, entire families disappeared within a generation. People learned to grieve quickly. They learned to continue living. Love existed, but it existed alongside constant loss. Over time, death shaped medieval mentality. Life was lived with urgency. The future was uncertain. Tomorrow was never guaranteed. Survival itself was an achievement. Looking back, medieval death appears brutal and overwhelming, and it was, but it also created resilience. People learned endurance, acceptance, strength under impossible conditions. In the Middle Ages, death was not hidden behind machines or walls. It was present, visible, unavoidable. And because of that, life was lived with an intensity rarely experienced today. Every day mattered. Every breath mattered. Because death was always close.